Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into the halfway review for the summer 2023 forecast. So at the end of May, we released the GavsWeatherVids summer 2023 forecast, and we've reached over the halfway point now of meteorological summer. Of course, meteorological summer runs from the first day of June to the final day of August, so kind of 15th of July would be the halfway point for meteorological summer. Still a bit different for astronomical summer, but we won't get into that particular can of worms. And I was away, of course, last week, so I was unable to do a halfway review at the actual halfway point, but just beyond halfway, it's time to have a look and see how our summer forecast is doing. So I shall get on with that for you in a moment. Just to say that the first video release today here on the channel was the 6 AM UK weather forecast. We've released lots of other videos as well. We'll be live streaming at 6 PM this evening. We'll be live streaming 10 to 14 days. If you're around the channel at 6, then please check in to our live stream. And thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Thank you so much, Richard, for our summer forecast gift. Thank you so much, Rich. I love it. It was a fantastic gift. Thank you so much, my friend. Okay, let's see how the summer's going. Well, I suppose the first thing to talk about is the forecast. So it's a very, very, very difficult forecast. I'm sure you remember that it was released with really low confidence. We have been expecting the analogues to be showing up like a front-loaded type summer, which is where you get drier, warmer weather through the front part of summer, through June, and then you get a deterioration through July, culminating in an unsettled and wet signal for the August. Now, it didn't really turn out like that with the analogues. The analogues just looked quite unsettled throughout the summer. Really, although we did have 1981 showing up as our leading year, which actually has like dry, warm weather in the back end of the summer. So it left us with a very confused picture for the summer forecast, and consequently, the forecast was delivered with very low confidence. So what we went for in the end was a slightly warmer than average summer by about half a degree to 1 degree above the 91 to 2020 average. We went for like average rainfall, a variability on that. We did still have the idea that the earlier part of the summer would probably be the driest weather, so the driest weather to average would probably be in June. And then just generally quite mixed, really, for July and also for August. Well, within that, there was the idea that later on in the summer, probably later on in August, we might get back to some drier and warmer weather as well, but not as consistently so as in June. So a rather mixed summer. The main headline was actually that it wouldn't be as hot or as dry as summer 2022. So he said no 40 degrees probably, and you know, whilst we would still get warm periods and possibly very hot periods, we had predicted like there might be a couple of heat spikes. Generally, it should be a rather cooler, a rather more changeable, rather more mixed summer compared to the summer of 2022. Well, let's have a look and see how things are shaping up then as we get to the 26th day of July. So this is how the analogue for summer 2023 is looking so far. This is from the 1st day of June to the 23rd day of July. 1st of June to 23rd of July. And you see a mixed signal. So we have got a bit of a blocking signal in the North Atlantic and going into the high latitude. So that's the first thing to say. We have had some northern blocking through this summer and low pressure in the Atlantic. There's been a ridge across many southern parts of Europe. That's the reason it's been so very hot down across southern regions of Europe. So that's how the analogue looks for the summer of 2023 so far. We have had very contrasting June to July, though. So this is how the analogue looks for June of 2023. Very anticyclonic month. Large area of high pressure dominating to the north of the UK and over towards Scandinavia as well, bringing lots of easterly winds. So it's a very easterly June and also a hot June as well, or a very warm June. To say the least. Now, look how July flips that around, though. So, and this is the reason for the northern blocking signal. In July, we find the high pressure going to the North Atlantic, heading up towards Greenland. We stick up a trough of low pressure across northern and western parts of Europe. So, obviously, a very different July to June. Very rare, but you see such a contrast between two back-to-back months there. particularly June and July. You know, that's quite unusual to flip that around. So obviously we can say that July did indeed turn mixed, has indeed turned mixed, and has been quite unsettled after that warmer and drier start to the summer in June. We've got to wait and see where we go in August now. Will we keep that unsettled weather going through August, or will we get back to some higher pressure? This is how the temperature anomaly shapes up for June, set against the 91 to 2020 average. See a warmer than average month across the board, particularly so for more western parts of the country. Actually, that's because we had a lot of easterly wind during June, which of course brings cooler air off the North Sea into eastern regions and has the hottest temperatures out in western Scotland. Some places went to, or one limited place went to over 3 degrees above average. But widely, western side was like 2 degrees above normal in June. And many places getting drier than average month as well. A little bit of regional variation, that down to like those hit and miss thunderstorms that occurred later on in the month as the pattern started to wobble, I think. But overall, a warm and dry June to start off the summer. And when these anomaly maps update for July, which they will do in a week or so's time, then I think we will probably find July going average or a little bit on the cooler than average side. Actually, remember, this is against 91 2020, so I'd imagine quite a bit of the country will go rather cooler than average in July. And I would imagine missed precipitation normally will go wetter than average. So up to and beyond the halfway point, I actually think the summer forecast is shaping up not too bad. And I don't particularly see any reason to tweak it or change it. So I think we're just going to leave it alone and see how it goes, you know, up to this point. It was little more than a guess, to be honest, but it seems like I've guessed right with this. So we'll wait and see what happens in August. August is going to be the key, I think, to the summer, because obviously we've had a warm and dry June and a cool and wet July. Then those 2 months are offsetting one another, and August will determine, you know, what people's perceptions of the summer of 2023 is like. If August is also another cool and unsettled month, then people, I think, will have a generally quite a bad view of this summer. If August goes back to the higher pressure that we had in June, and we get hotter, dry weather, remember, it will be hotter in August compared to June. If that high pressure does set up, then the potential is there to get some proper hot weather going. And then people will have a different perception of the summer. It will just be like July, but poor month. The other two weren't too bad. So we're going to wait and see about that. The summer forecast suggested that both July and August were likely to be mixed, but possibly with the idea at play, but we might get back to something a little bit drier and warmer later on in August. That'd be particularly in the second half of the month. So if you're looking for a change to this unsettled weather, I would be focusing like on mid-August and into the third week of the month, possibly to bring back some higher pressure and bring some dry and warm weather. But it can all be very, very difficult, you know, once the weather breaks with these kind of summer. So once you get a lot of high pressure in the early part of the summer, in June, once that breaks, it can be very, very, very hard and difficult to get back to high pressure, you know, through July and through August. So I won't be overly confident that the high pressure comes back for any more than a few days as like a transient ridge or something. I won't be overly confident on that, but it is a possibility. It was showing up within some of those years that were our leading years, you know, but later on in August something dry and warmer might come along. But overall, I don't think the summer forecast is doing too bad, so I don't really see any need to change things. We've had a very warm June, we're having a cooler July, much more mixed July as well. And of course, one interesting fact is that July is actually going to be cooler than June, which is very unusual. July is typically hotter than June, and I think I had to go back to 1970 for the last time that happened. Now, we didn't predict that, you know, no one would have been able to foresaw that we would get our first June warmer than July since 1970, before I was born. But we did have the idea that the early part of the summer would be the best part. So I think overall the trend's not too bad for the summer forecast. Of course, there will be things that we've got wrong, and you don't get everything right within a long-range forecast, obviously, but you're looking to pick up the trend. I think we've broadly got the trends correct so far for this summer, so I don't see any particular need to tweak or change anything at this stage, and we'll wait and see now how the summer itself shapes up. And we will, of course, evaluate our summer forecast when we get into September and we're beyond meteorological summer. But at this stage, it's all looking quite good, I think, quite reasonable. I'm quite happy with how the summer forecast is going. Okay, so if you've got any questions about this mid-season review, then please fire away on our live stream a little bit later on. It could be live stream from 6 p.m. We get a live stream at 10 to 14 day, but in the first part of the stream, I'll be taking questions and whatnot. So if you've got any questions about this, then please, fire away, and I shall endeavour and do my best to answer them. Thank you so much, Richard, for our summer forecast gift once more, and for this one, the halfway review of the summer 2023 forecast. That's all for now, and thanks so much.